Welcome back to the thunderwizard.com YouTube channel. So today I just wanted to briefly gloss over my personal experience watching Dr. Greer's press club disclosure event this past Monday. I believe it was June 12th. And I've got the link here in the description as well as here in the chat. And I cannot recommend strongly enough that everybody who hears this video go and watch that. It's quite amazing. I also believe that this disclosure event is part of something we are experiencing, which I've talked about already, which is the Rahu-Jupiter conjunction in Aries in this year 2023 during the month of June. And as I have said, there are going to continue to be explosive revelations and events. And I believe this is one of them. I don't know that there's anything more important than the revelation of this material. There just isn't. I can't think of anything. But what is most amazing is how incredible all of it is. I've been telling you guys, if you've read my book, Interdimensional Revolution, I've been telling you my thoughts, which has been based mostly off of common sense, critical thinking, looking at the evidence, and of course my personal experiences. But that is a far cry from somebody who actually has a corroborative evidence. And to have this evidence provided to the United States Senate. Now, what I find equally interesting is that perhaps there are far more people watching the UFO alien event that happened in Las Vegas, where some Las Vegas residents claim that a UFO crash landed in their backyard, and giant 8 to 10 foot aliens ran around their backyard trying to start up a tractor and running around on their roof and then flying away. More people are talking about that than they are talking about the people who are coming forward and making some very serious allegations. Now, I, of course, am not saying that I have any proof for any of this. I'm just reporting to you back. Again, you can watch it for yourself. It's there on YouTube. But there are people from the U.S. military, people in the U.S. Air Force, Army, Marines, and people from the technology sector like Raytheon, who are coming out and saying that really quite amazing things, that whatever this transnational deep state entity is, it's got trillions of dollars, and it's got, according to them, the allegations are that this transnational corporation, which is a corporation, I'm not even call it a corporation, this transnational undisclosed black ops military, which apparently has been siphoning trillions of dollars of your tax money every year into a hidden space program, where they have created already spaceships equal to or greater than anything you could see in Star Wars, Star Trek, science fiction. According to the people in that press club event who came forward and gave their testimony, according to them, these technologies, which include things like cloaking, which include things like being able to mimic telepathic communication, all of the things that you hear about in alien abductions, where people are, incapable of moving, they're put into a hypnagogic state, taken tractor beams and things like that onto flying saucers where they're put on tables, et cetera, et cetera. This is allegations that are being made by people who say that no, this is done by humans. I've been saying this all along, but now we've got actual, very credible allegations about all of this. And so I guess, I kind of haven't been the same since I watched it. Because the reality of it, kind of hit me in a deeper way. It's one thing for, me, some kind of fringe nutcase lunatic, people, I'm sure they put me in some new age crazy category type of person. I mean, I wouldn't blame them if they did. It's one thing for me to sit around and talk about it. It's another thing for decorated military officers, all the way up, in very high-ranking officers. It's one thing for them to come forward and to publicly talk about being harassed, being threatened, having their lives threatened. There was one really, the one that really stuck out to me that I didn't forget was, according to a Marine, he said he stumbled upon this operation using a spaceship, a man-made anti-gravity, flying saucer, to gather human beings for human slave trafficking in order to fund this program. That to me it's a big deal. I mean, it's one thing. I mean, if you go back and look at the first publicized abduction event, which is the Betty and Barney Hill abduction event, when you go and look at that, people talk about that all the time, but especially ufologists talk about it because for some reason human beings like the idea of evil aliens taking them hostage and experimenting on them. People are obsessed with that. When you tell them that's not aliens, that's humans, people get really defensive about that, which I find a very interesting human psychological trait, that human beings prefer to be given a negative picture of the universe that they live in. But if you look back at that very first abduction event, and all you need is 10 years to look at it in hindsight, and you find out that those aliens were not advanced in the slightest. That they, apparently in 1963, these aliens that supposedly traveled light years to come to Earth didn't have the ability to do something as simple as a pregnancy test without sticking a giant needle into a woman's navel. And and then of course I talk about it in my book Interdimensional Revolution. I talk about, during the 80s, if you weren't there, it was a big thing in the 80s for people claiming to be abducted by aliens to talk about these huge implants, like this big giant transistor implants placed in their body, and then the implants would fall apart or they'd get infected, and they'd go to the doctor, and the doctor would pull it out and put it under a microscope and say, this is not from this world. And then now we have technology where it's well known that we can implant somebody with something, with a virus. We can implant people. Humans can implant definitely something smaller than a grain of rice. So that's far more advanced than supposed aliens. So the objective evidence, if you use critical thinking, is that this is humans. Humans have simply found high 3D technology that they're using, and just looking at it, somebody with access to this technology is abducting humans and pretending to be aliens. Also in there, it was talked about, people came forward claiming that so-called aliens trying to abduct them actually were robots. I guess one person fought one off and it broke open and you could see all the transistors and everything in it. This is something, by the way, a lot of alien abductees talk about. They talk about robots a lot. Even very famous, authors of Communion. Whitley Strieber talks about strange robots flying into his room and doing strange things. And of course, to my knowledge, he still believes that that's done by extraterrestrials. And that saddens me that, people are being targeted to be part of this very clear misinformation campaign. And I find it, again, incredibly coincidental and convenient that a so-called alien event that happened weeks ago in Las Vegas, now all of a sudden, like 2 days before this disclosure event happens, 2 days before, plastered all over mainstream news media, they're describing something that actually sounds exactly like what these people are talking about. And to my knowledge, I haven't heard any, I could be wrong, I don't watch mainstream media, but I haven't heard anything on any of the news talking about this event. But no shortage of people talking about, an unprovable alien event where 10-foot tall aliens are frightening people and running across their roofs and trying to start their tractors and drive away, and who knows whatever else they were trying to do. So what it has done for me after that, I found that I had a strong delayed emotional reaction. For the past couple of days I've been really kind of somber, and I came to realize that what this means is that it's not a theory anymore. It's not just me theorizing and putting into a book. I can prove to you with critical thinking that this is what's going on because I've had contact with extraterrestrials. But now we've got very credible witnesses saying things I've been saying for a long time. Well, for a year anyway. So what that means is the experiences to me, what it means to me is the experiences that I've had are real. And it's gotten to a level of reality that, I don't know. So the real question is, what does this mean for us? What is going to happen? And is anybody listening? One thing I do need to address is that I believe in my last video, I said that, by the way, at that time, I hadn't watched the entire event. I had watched, I think half of it or something. And it got more interesting when I was able to go back and watch the whole thing. But apparently he did talk about the time clock put on this, and now I believe he wasn't speaking for extraterrestrials in terms of this time clock. He said there's a time clock on this that if this situation doesn't resolve itself, then it has to happen by the end of this year or beginning of next year. And I thought, well, perhaps that means that ETs have said to him that there's a time clock on it. But he made it sound as though there's people within the government that are going to, I don't know what they're going to do. They're going to, take legal action or do something. And I think this is kind of like an olive branch. This disclosure event was an olive branch to those unacknowledged, undisclosed deep state black ops military programs that, hey guys, here's an olive branch. We're gonna release this. We're gonna give this information to the public, and there are people within the machinery of government that are also going to come down on you if you guys don't decide to back off and disclose all of this. And what I find most interesting and very, very positive about all this is that the whole point of this disclosure project isn't to talk about aliens or, fake alien abductions or anything like that. It is to reveal to the world that human beings have technologies that, for the rank and file, for everybody else, we think is purely science fiction. And that means when these technologies, which 0 point, energy technologies, free energy technologies, here's what it means. It means the end of petroleum. And, one of the most brilliant things that the petroleum industry has done is that they have found a way to align themselves with the conservative Republican political movement. And the reason why that's brilliant is because then you've got the other part of the political game going on, the Democrats, and the Democrats are accurately pointing out that there's this thing called global warming as a result of release of greenhouse gases. Now, the brilliant thing is that the petroleum company has gotten themselves involved with the Republican aspect of it, which wants to deny that. And so that creates a conflation where people aren't seeing what's really going on. Because we're seeing, on the one hand, big pharma has taken over the Democratic side. This same deep state element has taken over mainstream media. So they've taken over the media, they've taken over Democratic parties, they've taken over, they took over, governments across the world through the World Health Organization and CDC, where these bodies are supposed to only give advice, and here they are dictating laws for governments all over the world. And it's the same group of people who benefit from trillions of dollars a year in petroleum sales and keeping you addicted and dependent on petroleum, not only to run your car, but for planes, for everything. And so without that, without those trillions of dollars, imagine if you had a clean burning device that you could use to travel with. Dr. Greer was saying that the technology exists that we don't even have to use ground travel anymore, that every single person can have a free energy device, meaning a transportation device that uses doesn't use petroleum, doesn't use electricity, doesn't use anything. It gets energy directly from the ambient environment without any toxic waste coming out of it. And it wouldn't cost you anything. So that means nobody makes money. Nobody's making any money. And so they've got, I've been saying this for years, that the Democrats and Republicans, this is a game, it's a farce, it's a distraction. They run both of these parties. And what'll happen is they'll put up the Republican side, and then they'll go to war. They'll use Republicans to go to war, although now they're using Democrats to go to war. That wasn't the case for a while, but now Democrats are going to war. But they'll bounce back and forth between the two sides, and you have to pick one or the other, and people fall into the delusion that there's a party out there where somebody's going to either honestly want to give you freedom and or that they have the power to do it. But the truth of the matter is that the people who we think are running the world don't even know about these projects that are going on. Anyways, this is what is being alleged by Dr. Greer and his people that are coming forward. So, for me, again, has brought a level of reality to what I've been talking about, which is that everything is changing. And so, if we live in a world now, just look at what's happened in the past 5-10 years. We live in a world now where the idea of alien technology visiting Earth is not just science fiction. It's being talked about everywhere, at all levels of government, at all levels of mainstream media. People can have whatever opinions they want, but it is a topic that is being talked about on everybody's, if they watch mainstream news, it's being talked about on the news. People are wondering, do aliens exist? Are aliens coming to Earth? Do extraterrestrials exist? So that right in and of itself is a complete shift. What we went through the past 3 years with a worldwide pandemic, all of the stuff associated with, big pharma and all of the things, that were going on with that I'm not even allowed to talk about. Those things were just unheard of 10 years ago. It was just something that couldn't happen. And, something has to change. And as that happens, people like me, if you've done what Dr. Greer has introduced, I don't think he's the only person to have done it, but to have introduced human-initiated contact with extraterrestrial beings. Once you do that, you start to learn that the universe is much different than you thought. That the universe isn't this empty, cold place filled with, emptiness and rocks and gas and, that kind of thing. It's an actual multi-dimensional place that is filled with conscious beings, and that we are the anomaly. That the universe is not filled with these powerful beings that are seeking to come and cause you damage and harm, because that's our projection, because that's what we would do if we were traveling the universe. The first people that would go out into the universe would be the military. And of course they would be, as has been proposed by Jeff Bezos, that we start exploring space for one reason only, which is to get resources that they can sell to you. All you have to do is go on to Jeff Bezos' YouTube channel. He wants to put 1 trillion people in space stations orbiting the Earth. And then he wants to be able to go out into space, go to the moon, go to different planets, and mine these planets of natural resources. Specifically, he's very clear about this, specifically so that he can sell it to you so that you can use it for your energy consumption. This is what humans do. So of course we project this onto any extraterrestrials out there. Number one, we have the assumption that all life has to function within the third dimension. And then we assume that must be what they want to do, that their planet is dying, so they're going to come here and, terraform the Earth and use humans as slaves and turn the atmosphere into some boiling gas that they need to be able to breathe. And it's all nonsense. The universe is completely opposite to that. We are the ones who are walking around with this negativity, with this fear, with this, we're the ones that enslave and harm and abuse. We are the ones who aren't connecting spiritually, not them. We are the narcissists. We are the dead-eyed killers, not extraterrestrials. And the universe is an incredibly powerful, beautiful place where all life, that at least that we're able to interact with, comes from an understanding of a quantum field of love, which somebody might call God, that we are all connected to. So much so that they've, of course, they've been here from the beginning, because as I've found out in my interdimensional communications, what I found out is that the souls within every human being, we are the ones, before humans ever existed, we created this three-dimensional place called Earth. We, as higher dimensional beings, before we came into this reality, we crafted this universe. We created all of the life here. Specifically, we'd been, working on human beings for, millions of years, so that we could have an avatar that our souls could download into to experience the third dimension and be able to go through the challenges that end up strengthening our soul. That's the whole point for coming here. And of course, ETs are simply souls that have incarnated on other planets. We've been extraterrestrial. If you're a human, it's very likely that you've lived on other planets in other dimensions. You've had other bodies. You probably have been, like an ET is now, you've been probably hovering around Earth, guiding humans in the form of an angel or an elf or some kind of spirit guide. And we're all connected. We're all one family. And the assumption that, if there are alien beings out there, they must not know anything about us. They must be dead-eyed. They must be sociopathic. Because again, that is our projection of either our experience or our actions towards others. So for me, this has brought a whole new level of reality to all of this, and it makes me think that the things that I've been told are much more likely to be true. The things I've been told by ETs, and that it seems even more real to me that this solar wave ascension event is undergoing, because again, what just happened on Monday and what's been happening in the news is not something that ever could have happened 10 years ago. It just couldn't have happened. And I can't imagine that these people who are running these undisclosed programs, trillions of dollars with extremely powerful technology that they can use to control the world, I can't imagine that they want this information to come out. So, I mean, it seems to me that things are turning around. And of course, as I'm saying that, I'm getting flooded with energy. So that's always a sign that I'm saying something that they like. So we'll see what happens. Again, I was wrong about what I thought Dr. Greer was saying. It seems as though ETs did not give him a time clock that they're gonna, shut everything down before the end of the year. So I don't know when this worldwide awakening event is going to happen, but it does seem to me that it's very imminent. My belief, based on my experiences as well as my observations, is that it's probably going to happen during this solar maximum that we're experiencing, which is predicted to last until 2026. And so by then, I think it's possible. Again, I'm not saying this because I believe it or I know it. In fact, as I say it, it's hard for me to even accept the reality of it. Let me just be clear about that. I'm not running around, the sky is falling, the end is near. I don't know. My human body really can't comprehend it. So it's not like I'm running around like I know what or when. I'm just choosing to accept the information that's coming to me and trying to look at things objectively and from an objective perspective without any attachment. It seems as though it's probably what's going to happen within the next months to the next few years, but it makes sense. Because again, I mean, listening to high level military people and obviously serious, I can tell when somebody's acting. And listening to these guys share their experiences of something that is beyond what we know of in science fiction, it means that everything that I've been saying for the past year is probably true. And so it makes it a lot more difficult for me to give a crap about anything like taxes or all this stuff, credit scores and all the stuff that we normally get all bent out of shape over. There's something bigger here. So it's got me motivated to just commit even more deeply to sharing what I know, giving away these tools, and teaching as many people as want to learn, how to change your energy and get yourself to a place where you can handle this shit. So before I open it up for questions, again, the point of this channel, if you're new to this channel, is I'm here to give you practical tools to help shift the energy of your body, to awaken your life force energy, the chi, the prana in your body, which will give you sustenance and support and give you a connection to nature, to awaken your kundalini, to awaken what is called the heart mind, which is very powerful electric energy surrounding the heart. I'm the first person in the history of the world to put all of these three energies together. Usually you learn them separately in different traditions. I'm the first person to bring them all together. And you can go onto my channel and look in the playlists. If you're new to the channel, I've got guided meditations and I've got qigong and all that, so that if you have no excuse. I've given you the tools. You can go take any one of them. The Hool breath, awakening the immortals qigong. Those are, I'll put them down here again. These are probably the most fundamental practices that anybody can do. Hool breath, awakening the immortals is a very powerful Maoshan related exercise. Sorry, I can't write and talk at the same time. Let's see. The heaven, earth, qigong. You can do all those for free, so there's no excuses. And each one of those, if you just did just one of those for 10 minutes, a half an hour a day, it would completely shift you up to be able to handle this energetic shift that is happening as we speak. You can go here at courses.thunderwizard.com to see all of my video courses, my certification courses, the services that I offer, Vedic astrology, rune readings, etc., etc. My books. See, this is one of my books, Interdimensional Revolution. Go to michaelwilliamdenny.com. You'll see all of my books, which you can also find on Amazon, Kindle, or Audible. And of course, the Interdimensional Meditation course, which there are free guided interdimensional meditations on the channel. You can also learn some ones that I do here at the Warrior 90-Day Lightning Qigong. All right? So, no excuses. It is important. I think it's probably the most important thing that we can do. Right now, in this stage of our development, I think the most important thing we can do is to change our energy vibrations, have our energy vibrations go up, and do the corresponding emotional and psychological self-examination, dropping all the fear, dropping all of the victim mentality, dropping all of the anger, doing whatever you need to do to heal the wounds within you. Interdimensional meditation is probably the fastest, most powerful way to get that ball rolling. But if what I'm being told is true, everything we know about the third dimension is going away. And what will remain will be a completely different world. And a level of awareness and energy that we could only have imagined in some kind of heavenly environment. And people, if you're human, you don't even begin to experience unless you leave your body and die. It's going to be, if the information I'm getting and is accurate and I'm interpreting it accurately, this is what's going to be the norm for all humans going forward. Probably, within the next 5 or 10 years, it's not going to be the same world. Happy to be wrong about it. I'm not attached to any of it. If I turn out to be wrong about it, I won't lose an ounce of sleep. But as much as my human mind can't comprehend it and struggles with it, my objective observation tells me that this seems inevitable. And definitely listening to Dr. Greer's very brave witnesses coming forward, and they really are incredibly brave people. It's very hard not to see the world in a completely different light. Having said that, I'm happy to take any questions if there are any. If you have a question, if you're new to the channel, what I'd like for you to do is write the word question in all caps. Not the whole question, just the word question. Why? So that I'll see it. I'm not going to read everybody's opinion or people dropping whatever. I'm only going to read questions and honest feelings. Anything other than that, I'm going to scroll past it. So if you want to interact with me, leave a question. All right, let me take a look and see what we got here. All right, so Travis Joe, I don't know you. Perhaps you're new to the channel. I'm not interested in this, whatever this debate is you want to talk about, UFO versus UAP. These are just words. I don't think they mean anything. He thinks we passed through the event. Well, if you're right and we passed through the event, then it was quite a letdown. Look, the 2012 event isn't the same as what I'm talking about. And once again, let me be clear. I am not coming to you with theories. I'm not a ufologist. I didn't believe in any of this a year ago. In fact, I didn't know any of it existed. I didn't even know, I'd never heard of the event. I'd never heard of the solar flash. I'd never heard of any of it. And if you had brought it up to me, I would have laughed at you. In fact, I'm sure I did. I'm sure people have come to me over the years in these same, you can go back and watch me 2, 3, 4 years ago, and I'm sure that I devalued and laughed at anybody who talked about anything like that. So it's having an opinion is one thing, Travis Joe. Having personal experience is something else. So everything I'm talking about is coming from personal experience. It's not coming from any opinions. I don't read, I don't follow ufology, I don't follow any of the New Age stuff. I'm not bantering around different theories about anything. If I talk about something, it's because I've personally experienced it. And so the event you're talking about, 2012 event did happen, but it wasn't the same as the solar flash or the ascension event. Let me be clear to for those of you who are new. You can go watch some of my previous videos over the past year and I tell you what it is. I first had my first successful interaction with an extraterrestrial higher dimensional being in June of 2022. Actually, that's not true, but that was the first one I was conscious of. It was an incredibly powerful event where a being literally beamed into my room I was in. I was videotaping it. Of course, he was phased just out of the third dimension. Took over my radio. My radio did all kinds of crazy things, and there was a telepathic interaction that was going on that was quite distressing for me, not because he was doing anything harmful, but just the knowledge that I was interacting with something that was not from my planet, because I didn't know anything besides my planet existed, and from my dimension. And the combination of that was going on put me into a state of trauma. That started an interaction that went on, daily. We're talking hours and hours during the day and at night for weeks, months at a time. During that time, I was shown that there's going to be an event, a worldwide event that is coming for the Earth, that will be in the sky, that everybody on earth will see. What they're going to see, I don't know, because it was given to me in a symbolic form, which I talk about in a video way back then. I share about it. If you want to know what all of that is, you can watch the video how I became an extraterrestrial here on my channel. And that vision that was given to me, there was going to be a worldwide event. Everybody was going to see it on earth, and everybody was going to have a very profound spiritual experience. Christians are going to believe that it's the second coming of Jesus. Whatever your personal religious bent is, you're going to think that prophecy is happening, and then that will immediately become apparent. Even to staunch Christians, it will become apparent that, oh my God, my religion was wrong. It's something else. I contacted these beings again in a later dream. In a meditation later after that dream, because I wanted to know what they were talking about. I was trying to figure out, what is this event going to be? I could only imagine it was going to be fleets of spaceships descending on planet Earth. And they said, no, that would scare people. We're not going to do that. And I said, well, then what is it? If it's not a fleet of spaceships, what is it? Because I asked, is it a fleet of spaceships? And they said, no. It's going to be a series of solar waves solar waves of love that are going to hit the earth, penetrate the earth, and all consciousness will shift up. And I thought to myself, that's just crazy. I'm making this up. I came out of that meditation and I said, that's just too unbelievable. Like, it wasn't unbelievable enough that I had already, had an interaction with a 7-foot tall red mantis being who was touching my forehead. My crown chakra, as if that wasn't unbelievable enough. And I came on to the channel and I talked about it, and I said, I think I was making it up. And people said, no, that's a real thing. It's called the event. It's called the solar flash. And then I started doing research and finding out about it. So the 2012 event you're talking about was the Mayan prophecy. The Mayan prophecy was misinterpreted by people at that time. I was there, 2012, I remember it. And that prophecy was misinterpreted to mean the end of the world. And it didn't say it was the end of the world, it said it was the end of this world. And it said that our Earth and our Sun were going to go through the center of the galaxy, go through a black hole and come out somewhere else, and it would be a new Earth. So that's not the same. Now, as it turns out, based on what we know from the Mandela effect, and those of you who are old enough to know that the Earth used to be in the outer edge of the galaxy in the Sagittarius arm, the very outer edge of the galaxy. And now it's halfway in the galaxy, across the galaxy, in the Orion arm. And that happens sometime after 2012. Which means that our planet, our solar system, and all of the stars surrounding us came with us. That is what you're talking about. That is not the same. That was only the beginning. Things started changing after that. It was after 2012 that people really started, I wasn't one of them, but people started really, especially younger people, started waking up to this idea of living in a matrix. There's a deep state running everything. You can't trust the media. You can't trust the government. There's no such thing as, functioning elections, all of that. And but that was the starting things out. So I completely disagree with you. The event that I'm talking about has not happened yet. Clearly has not happened yet. Because what's going to happen is, once this event happens, it's going to completely shift everything in an unbelievable way. And that certainly hasn't happened yet. I'm not, there's a lot of people that there's a lot of New Agers who in reality don't believe this. And I understand it. How could anybody rational person who hasn't gone through the kind of crazy stuff I have, why would you? I wouldn't. But they want to still be part of the New Age thing. So what they'll say in order to keep themselves in the narrative, the New Age narrative, is they'll say, no, it's not going to be an external event. It happens to you personally. Which, of course, there's some truth to that. It is your internal shift that creates the ability for the shift to come. But it's been made very clear to me by these beings. This is going to be an external event that is going to, one day you're going to wake up and it's going to be a different world than it was the day before. And that doesn't take away from the solar wave event that is ongoing. It's a continuous thing that's officially started December 2nd, 2022. That's what they told me. They told me that day. They woke me up that day and told me, this is the day, it's beginning now. And that's when we started having all of these solar plasma, events where we had northern lights, like weeks, in a row, all of these northern lights, going all the way down into New Mexico. And they're telling me that's just the beginning of that. We're in kind of a lull where there's not a lot of solar activity hitting us, but it's coming. All right, I'm giving you guys time to write questions, and I'm not seeing anything here. All right, nothing else. Okay, so I addressed Travis Joe's comment, which I don't completely agree with it. Anyway, nothing else. I guess there's no questions, so I guess we're done. All right, guys, that's it. Thank you so much. I've left the link. Everybody needs to see that. This is the most important video you could watch. I can't think of anything more important than what's in that video. And I strongly encourage all of you to share this with as many people as you can that you think would be interested in hearing it. Because the information is absolutely revolutionary. It is an interdimensional revolution. All right, that's it, guys. Thanks for showing up. I wish you all the best. And yeah, we'll just leave it at that for today. All right, I will see you all next time. Take care.